A salaryman with no maiden to flex and a chip on his shoulder finds himself reincarnated as Leon Fu Bartford, a 5-year-old inside the very Otome game he reluctantly completed before hitting his head and dying. Now he's hustling for that simple life, dodging nobles, chasing mechs, and somehow turning every duel into his personal therapy session. Deep down, he's just a dude in over his head, hoping to survive long enough to drink tea without drama or existential dread. But no peaceful days here, just endless cycles of chaos, misunderstandings, and why am I like this? Energy. Another long intro. Smash that like button if you want to skip it. Maybe we'll cut intros when the vid hits 1 likes, but probably not. The story kicks off with the ultimate sibling betrayal, a younger sister blackmailing her older brother into playing an Otome game. No escape, no excuses. He dives in, griping about shallow characters, cringeworthy dialogue, and boring gameplay the entire time. After what feels like a lifetime of suffering, he finally beats the game and steps outside, ready to taste freedom. But life isn't about to let him win. He gets dizzy, trips on the stairs, and dies in what might be the most embarrassing game over screen ever. When he opens his eyes, he's in a younger body and completely lost. Confused, he heads to what he assumes is his home. Instead of a warm welcome, he gets a punishment from his father in front of his mother and a snobby guest named Zola. Later that night, in a rundown shed, Leon talks to his older brother about their terrible living conditions. His brother points out how Zola enjoys a luxurious life in the mansion while they're left to rot in poverty. He suggests working hard to get into the academy and marrying someone from there to escape their misery. Leon listens but starts connecting the dots. Something about all this feels eerily familiar. That's when it clicks. He's been reincarnated into the Otome game his sister forced him to play. Now he's Leon Fu Bartford, stuck in a world he absolutely hates and saddled with a life he never signed up for. Game over? More like game just started. 10 years pass and Leon figures out that his family doesn't even exist in the original game. This makes him a mob character, someone completely irrelevant to the main story. Knowing he's not important to the plot, he writes down all the events from the game and keeps himself in shape. He wants to avoid getting dragged into any of the game's conflicts and dreams of a quiet, uneventful life as a nobody. Zola destroys that dream in record time. She arranges a marriage for Leon with someone from a family drowning in debt, hoping to fix her own financial problems at his expense. The deal is simple: marry or face a one-way ticket to the battlefield, which guarantees certain death. After Zola leaves, Leon asks his father for a favor. The next day, he sets off on a boat to a location he remembers from the game. This is the place where the game's protagonist had a significant event in her story. While sailing, he gets caught in a powerful maelstrom that drags him to an island. There, he finds an old abandoned ship. Inside the ship, Leon encounters a sentry bot. He takes it out with his gun and pushes further into the ship. He reaches the medical bay and stumbles upon the corpse of someone named Josie Moon. Taking the ID card from the body, he uses it to gain access to the docking bay. In the docking bay, Leon discovers an ancient ship guarded by a massive sentry robot. A fight breaks out between them. During the struggle, the robot grabs Leon and questions him about the year. Leon's answer confirms that the robot's side lost a war long ago. The robot explains that a new kind of human with the ability to use magic wiped out its creators. Believing its purpose is to destroy these magical humans, a robot tightens its grip on Leon. Leon pulls out a short sword with a built-in mechanism and fires it straight into the robot's eye. The attack causes the robot to malfunction and shut down. The robot speaks to Leon through the PA system of the ship. It tells him to register as the new owner and points out that he shares traits with the old humans, even though he belongs to the new generation. Leon names the ship Luxion. Exhausted, he collapses and loses consciousness. Back at Leon's house, Zola is losing her mind in full tantrum mode. She blames Leon for wrecking her precious marriage arrangement and accuses him of running off to die in some ridiculous adventure. Leon's father tries to defend him, saying it's way too early to make assumptions, but Zola, ever the drama queen, insists that Leon has been missing for 3 months and either abandoned them or got himself killed. Then, in the most epic flex ever, Leon rolls up piloting a small ship packed with treasure. Luxion, now looking like a floating orb of sass and brilliance, floats beside him like a loyal sidekick. Armed with enough wealth to make Zola choke on her own words in a ship that screams, "Don't mess with me," Leon shuts down the marriage scheme of Zola without a second thought. Finally free from her manipulations, he takes the reins of his own destiny and enrolls in the academy he's always dreamed of. This time, it's his future, his rules, and definitely no more Zola. Leon happily waters some flowers, grinning like he's just won the lottery. Luxion points out that his great mood stems from the sour expression of Zola, and honestly, Leon can't deny it. Watching his stepmother squirm has become his favorite pastime, especially now that he's an independent knight. Things are looking up. He's even discovered an uninhabited island that's perfect for a baronet's estate. Luxion, ever the genius, suggests turning the island into a tourist hotspot with a hot spring. Leon immediately loves the idea, convinced it'll make the place a major hit. The ship's robots jump into action, and Leon estimates the project will be done in 2 months. Dreaming of a laid-back life as a baronet, he heads home, only to have his plans thrown into chaos. Balkus, his father, casually drops the bombshell that Leon is now a baron. This new title completely derails his plans. The island designed for a baronet is no longer suitable. Worse, Leon realizes he now has to marry someone ranked on par with Zola to maintain appearances. The very thought of finding a wife like Zola horrifies him so much that he breaks down in tears. His dreams of a peaceful life just got upgraded to nightmares. Leon arrives at Halford Academy, staring at the impressive building in amazement. He thinks about everything he needs to do and realizes the game has officially started. While observing the scene, he notices a lady barking orders at her servant, forcing him to carry a ridiculous amount of luggage. Shortly after, the prince's entourage appears, followed by Angelica and her servants. Leon spots the groups and immediately hopes to avoid the spotlight, determined to live quietly as an unimportant mob character. Then, Julius gets slapped by a young woman. Leon finds the scene strangely familiar. The lines the girl says sound like they belong to the game's protagonist, Olivia, but the girl doesn't look like her. Inside his room, Leon reflects on the girl he saw earlier. Something about her feels familiar, but he can't quite place it. Luxian enters and comments on the outdated technology in the city compared to his own advanced systems. He also mentions the need for more research on magic. Leon listens before admitting that he's been studying everything about tea parties lately, much to his own embarrassment. Later, Leon chats with Daniel and Raymond about finding girls from wealthy families at the academy. Neither of them has anything useful to offer. The tea party Leon brought up turns out to be Daniel's plan to attract girls, though it seems to lack much promise. Elsewhere, Julius and Joke are surrounded by girls fawning over their upcoming tea party. Angelica approaches Julius, trying to discuss his plans, but he brushes her off in favor of Marie, the same girl Leon saw earlier. During class, the group receives a lecture about tea party etiquette. The carefree attitude of Leon toward the topic gets the master's attention, who decides to explain the finer points in great detail. The explanation is so thorough that it unexpectedly brings Leon to tears. Leon decides to hold his own tea party and invites a baroness. When she arrives, she brings her friends and servants along. It becomes clear that they are only there to kill time before attending Brad's tea party. After leaving, they mock Leon's inadequate snacks. Feeling defeated by the complicated world of tea parties, Leon notices Olivia, the protagonist of the game, being bullied. Leon wants nothing to do with the game's plot, but he still ends up inviting Olivia for tea. Olivia, unlike the usual crowd, acts polite and soft-spoken, which makes her stand out. During their conversation, she shares her wish to study magic, but admits she feels clueless about the academy's unspoken rules. Leon suggests reaching out to his older sister Jenna for guidance. Jenna, clearly unenthusiastic, eventually agrees and gives Olivia a typical shady tip: bribe her way into a tea party with expensive snacks. With the support from Leon, Olivia follows Jenna's questionable advice and joins Angelica's tea party. Sitting there, sipping tea, Olivia and Angelica both talk about Leon. They don't say it outright, but deep down both appreciate all the times he's gone out of his way to help them. Sure, he pretends he doesn't care, but they see through his act. Meanwhile, Leon finds himself stewing in irritation during exploration class. Daniel and Raymond bailed, leaving him stuck with the prince's entourage, truly the last thing he wanted. Before the group can even get started, tension flares between Marie and Angelica. Julius steps in to break it up, but instead of diffusing the situation, he makes things awkward for everyone. Later, Olivia fills Leon in on Marie's backstory, while Joke and Greg loudly back Julius and his decision to support Marie, clearly proud of their misguided loyalty. In the dungeon, Olivia finds the crystal they need for their objective. Celebration time? Not quite. A swarm of ant monsters shows up, killing the mood instantly. Leon, armed with a sword crafted by Luxian, steps up and starts cutting them down like he's auditioning for an action movie. Things take a turn when a monkey-like monster clamps down on Leon's arm, refusing to let go. He finishes it off with a dagger, but ends up with an injured arm in the process. Just when things look bad, the prince's entourage arrives with Marie, followed closely by Angelica and her crew. The entourage wipes out the remaining ants. Julius gets a small cut on his arm, prompting Marie to use her healing magic on him. Angelica tries to check on him, but Julius, in classic clueless prince fashion, shrugs her off and walks away with Marie, leaving Angelica looking like she's questioning every life choice she's ever made. Olivia, noticing Leon's injury, steps in and heals him with her magic. Three girls burn the possessions of Marie in a furnace. Julius, with Joke awkwardly tagging along, retrieves the charred remains and confronts Angelica. She denies having anything to do with it, but Julius claims the girls said they acted under her orders. He wastes no time telling her to keep her distance from him and Marie while they're at the academy, leaving Angelica to silently see things. Meanwhile, Leon sits with Daniel and Raymond, venting about how some rich students have already locked down their engagements. The guys agree that the engaged girls were the decent ones, leaving the ones with personalities best described as nightmares still available. Leon's no better off. His tea party invitations keep getting ignored like spam mail. The conversation shifts to Marie and the bullying rumors. Julius is convinced Angelica is behind it, and his fury feels off to Leon, who remembers Julius only getting angry at Angelica way later in the original game. Something here doesn't add up. Later in the library, Leon brings this up with Olivia. She casually asks if Leon's into girls like Marie, and he awkwardly denies it. Olivia then recalls a run-in with Marie in the courtyard, where Marie outright said she dislikes girls like Olivia. The phrase sounds weirdly familiar to Leon, but before he can dwell on it, a noise nearby catches his attention. Curious, he investigates with Olivia trailing behind, only to stumble upon Brad and Marie mid-kiss. It's the kind of moment Leon didn't ask for and definitely didn't need. Later, Marie walks down a hallway, enjoying the chaos she caused and feeling satisfied that the bullying has stopped after Julius intervened. Julius, with Joke, approaches her and asks if she has a personal servant. Marie admits she doesn't because of her financial struggles, so so they offer to pay for one. Marie becomes ecstatic internally at the idea of getting a demi-human slave for herself. Angelica learns about this from her friends and sends them away. Alone, she laments how Julius now favors someone like Marie instead of her. Meanwhile, Jenna barges into the room of Leon and asks if he knows about Marie. Leon tells her what he knows, and Jenna questions if he was involved in the bullying. Leon denies it. Jenna warns him that being favored by the prince could secure his future, but falling out of favor would ruin him. Before leaving, Jenna tells Leon not to embarrass himself in any way. After Jenna leaves, Leon lies on his bed and reflects on the fact that the first semester is already over. He notes that all he has left to do is host a tea party and visit another dungeon. Luxian comments on how much Leon is enjoying himself despite not finding an engagement yet. This leads to a brief exchange between them, where Leon asks for information about Marie. Luxian refuses to provide any, including certain personal details about Marie and Angelica, leaving Leon frustrated. A party is held with Julius, Marie, Angelica, Daniel, Raymond, and Leon all in attendance. Leon, Daniel, and Raymond make a pact to find girlfriends during the event. However, the three girls they approach reject them without hesitation, leaving them dejected. Afterward, Olivia informs Leon about an altercation involving the prince's entourage and Angelica. Angelica accuses Marie of touching the hands of someone who isn't Julius. However, Julius and his entourage confess their love for Marie, which stirs up the crowd watching the drama unfold. Frustrated, Angelica challenges Marie by throwing down the gauntlet. Leon immediately recognizes this as the duel event from the original game, where the protagonist relied on a provisionary fighter with the highest relationship level. Julius encourages Marie to pick up the gauntlet and promises to fight for her. The rest of the entourage, Joke, Greg, Chris, and Brad, quickly join in to support Marie. Even Kyle, the servant of Marie, offers to participate. With no one stepping up to defend her, Angelica stands alone. Leon volunteers to fight on her behalf to prevent her from meeting the grim fate shown in the original game. Reluctantly, Angelica accepts his offer. Leon declares he will decide the method and stakes of the duel, while noting to himself that Marie, like him, does not belong to this world. Angelica's stake demands that Marie stay away from Julius. Murray, on the other hand, clumsily repeats a line straight from the game, which Leon instantly recognizes. He confirms the stakes and sets the method for the duel as an armored battle in the Colosseum. Greg challenges Leon's decision, but Joke steps in and agrees to the terms. Leon then establishes the format of the duel, 5 one-on-one rounds between himself and the members of the entourage. Julius accepts the terms and warns Leon about the challenges ahead. Unbothered, Leon taunts him by throwing the gauntlet back and daring him to pick it up. The next day, Marie sits in her room, frustrated that Leon, a mob character, is disrupting her plans. Meanwhile, Leon discovers his own room vandalized by Daniel and Raymond, who admit they were forced by their peers to do it. Luxian reveals that he recorded the entire incident and informs Leon that bets are being placed on the duel. The odds heavily favor the entourage, leaving Leon as the underdog. In response, Leon asks Luxian for 500 platinum coins to tilt things in his favor. Later, Angelica approaches Leon clearly uneasy and urges him to back out of the duel. She warns him that losing will drag both their names through the mud. Her family has already scolded her for challenging Marie so recklessly, and the worst-case outcome could mean house arrest or even exile to some desolate borderland. Leon, however, remains unfazed. He reassures her that he's not doing this to win points with the Dukes. His goal is simple: blow off steam after his endless, miserable search for a wife and knock down the entourage a peg or two. Angelica looks stunned by his bluntness, but Leon reminds her that she's the one who threw down the gauntlet in the first place. He doesn't stop there. Leon sets the record straight about the entourage, pointing out that their skills only seem impressive in the sheltered world of the academy. With confidence in his plan, he shifts his focus entirely to preparing for the duel. The day of the duel arrives, and Leon steps out wearing a suit Luxian designed for him. Before heading to the arena, Olivia wishes him luck. Leon assumes she placed a bet on him, but she insists that gambling goes against her principles. At the arena, Leon faces an unforgiving crowd, their jeers and disdain almost deafening. Among the sea of hostile faces, he notices Daniel and Raymond have placed bets on him, giving him a small boost of satisfaction. When Erevian's Leon's battle mech rolls into the arena, the crowd erupts into laughter, mocking its clunky and outdated appearance. Unfazed by their ridicule, Leon stands firm, smiling to himself, fully prepared to shut them all up in style. The mech of Leon faces ridicule from the crowd, but Leon reassures Angelica that everything will be fine. Olivia, confused by the laughter, learns from Angelica that Arrogans is a lost item. Angelica explains its history. Later, Angelica approaches Leon clearly uneasy and urges him to back out of the duel. She warns him that losing will drag both their names through the mud. Her family has already scolded her for challenging Marie so recklessly, and the worst-case outcome could mean house arrest or even exile to some desolate borderland. Leon, however, remains unfazed. He reassures her that he's not doing this to win points with the Dukes. His goal is simple: blow off steam after his endless, miserable search for a wife and knock down the entourage a peg or two. Angelica looks stunned by his bluntness, but Leon reminds her that she's the one who threw down the gauntlet in the first place. He doesn't stop there. Leon sets the record straight about the entourage, pointing out that their skills only seem impressive in the sheltered world of the academy. With confidence in his plan, he shifts his focus entirely to preparing for the duel. The day of the duel arrives, and Leon steps out wearing a suit Luxian designed for him. Before heading to the arena, Olivia wishes him luck. Liam assumes she placed a bet on him, but she insists that gambling goes against her principles. At the arena, Leon faces an unforgiving crowd, their jeers and disdain almost deafening. Among the sea of hostile faces, he notices Daniel and Raymond have placed bets on him, giving him a small boost of satisfaction. When Aravian's Leon's battle mech rolls into the arena, the crowd erupts into laughter, mocking its clunky and outdated appearance. Unfazed by their ridicule, Leon stands firm, smiling to himself, fully prepared to shut them all up in style. The mech of Leon faces ridicule from the crowd, but Leon reassures Angelica that everything will be fine. Olivia, confused by the laughter, learns from Angelica that Arrogans is a lost item. Greg exits his mech, picks up a broken piece of his weapon, and demands a rematch on foot. Leon refuses, saying he finds no joy in bullying the weak. Surprised by the comment, Greg listens as Leon calls out him and the entourage for their lack of self-awareness. Greg, enraged, charges at the mech of Leon, but his attacks are ineffective. The referee intervenes and declares Leon the winner of the match. Chris steps up to face Leon, openly declaring that he will take this fight seriously. Leon responds with a promise to do the same, and Chris insists he hold to that. The referee begins the duel, and Leon quickly recalls details about Chris' personality from the Otome game. Without hesitation, Leon retreats and deploys drones that barrage Chris with relentless fire, leaving him unable to counterattack. Chris grows frustrated and accuses Leon of using dishonorable tactics. Amused by the accusation, Leon mocks Chris, claiming that he hasn't needed to take the fight seriously yet. Chris manages to break free from the drone's line of fire and charges at Leon with his sword, but Leon easily grabs the sword and breaks it. Defeated and distraught, Chris laments that he worked harder than anyone else. Leon, with sarcasm, suggests that Chris bragged to Marie about all his effort, which only adds to the shock and disbelief rippling through the crowd. Joke, growing anxious after the loss of Chris, enlists Jenna to send a message to Angelica, asking her to convince Leon to withdraw for his own safety. Angelica relays the message to Leon, expressing concern for his health. However, Leon dismisses the warning, insisting he feels fine and will continue the duel. Out of sight, Luxian drops some shady news. Jenna, taking orders from Joke, rigged Leon's mech with bombs, but Luxian, being Luxian, casually brushes it off, reminding Leon that Arrogans is no ordinary mech. Those bombs are about as threatening as sparklers at a fireworks show. Leon rolls his eyes, knowing his mech isn't breaking a sweat over this. The next duel kicks off, and Joke comes out swinging, dropping a smokescreen and firing an anti-magic armor bullet straight at Leon's mech. The crowd waits for the dramatic explosion, and nothing. Joke's jaw drops, and desperate, he goes for the nuclear option, detonating the bombs. Still nothing. Arrogance just stands there, unbothered and undefeated. Joke, officially out of moves, starts begging Leon to reconsider, throwing out warnings about what defying Julius might mean. Leon has not even a flicker of concern. He shuts Joke down with a single move, leaving him in the dust. Meanwhile, Maria is losing her cool on the sidelines. Watching the entourage drop like flies was a part of her master plan. Julius steps in with a calm, knightly vibe, promising Marie he'll turn it all around in the final duel. Julius enters the arena, exuding confidence, ready to face Leon. Before the match starts, Leon throws out a casual question, asking what Julius thinks of Olivia. Julius shrugs it off like it's nothing, claiming he has no opinion. Leon doesn't react, but you can tell he's filing a response away for later. And with that, the final duel begins. The crowd erupts into cheers for Julius, throwing every insult they can at Leon, calling him a country hick, and hoping to see him crash and burn. The referee kicks off the duel, and Julius doesn't waste a second, charging straight at Leon with a flurry of attacks. Leon deflects each strike, noticing that Julius is rocking the best armor money or royalty can buy. Luxian, never missing a chance to irritate, points out how much the audience hates Leon, only adding fuel to his already burning annoyance. Mid-duel, Leon switches tactics and starts taunting Julius. He digs into how much Julius and his entourage are all head over heels for Marie. Julius, predictably, takes the bait, and the fight turns into a verbal slugfest. Julius dismisses Angelica without a second thought, claiming Marie truly gets him. He whines about how hard it is being born into royalty, painting Marie as the only person who understands his pain. Leon, unable to hold back, goes off on a rant about the endless nonsense he's dealt with since arriving in this world. Surprisingly, some boys in the crowd start nodding along, clearly vibing with Leon's rant. Meanwhile, Julius doubles down, loudly proclaiming his love and devotion to Marie. Angelica, standing on the sidelines, listens with tears streaming down her face, crushed by Julius's words. Olivia steps in, trying to defend Angelica's feelings for Julius, but it's no use. Julius, as stubborn as ever, declares he wants nothing to do with Angelica anymore, leaving her shattered while the crowd soaks to the drama like it's their favorite soap opera. Julius escalates the duel by stating it will end only when one of them dies. Leon, finding this amusing, accepts the challenge and mockingly taunts Julius to order him to lose on purpose. Julius refuses, claiming the duel is sacred. Leon's taunts earn him more disdain from the audience. Luxian observes that Leon deliberately acts like a villain. Leon confirms this, admitting he enjoys playing the role while trying to make Julius see reason. In a fit of rage, Julius launches another attack. Leon catches him effortlessly and attempts to have a serious talk about the consequences of choosing Marie over Angelica. Julius stubbornly insists that that he doesn't care about nobility or status and only wants Marie. Hearing this, Leon delivers a decisive impact attack, knocking Julius out and officially winning the duel. Leon exits his mech and is greeted by Olivia and Angelica. Angelica walks away to check on Julius, while Olivia warns Leon that his actions have made him hated by the other students. Leon remains indifferent, casually stating that he might transfer out of the academy someday. Angelica visits Julius, who remains bedridden. They share a heartfelt conversation about their one-sided relationship. Julius makes it clear that he cares only for Marie and no one else. Accepting this, Angelica leaves his side but wishes him and Marie the best for their future. Meanwhile, Leon meets Vince, the father of Angelica, and her older brother Gilbert to discuss resolving the mess he caused. Vince agrees to take care of it. Leon then states that he will renounce his title as knight and decline the offer of a barony. When Gilbert questions his motives for helping Angelica, Leon gives a vague answer about doing it for the kingdom. The response amuses Vince, who then suggests that Angelica stay in the countryside for some time. Leon walks down a hallway, feeling satisfied with the outcome of his actions. However, he regrets not being able to learn more about tea from the master, Daniel, and Raymond. He also laments not trying all the desserts in the academy's cafeteria. Sometime later, Olivia and Angelica ride on the ship of Leon, heading to his home in the countryside. Angelica blames herself for the events that led to Leon's expulsion from the academy. Olivia tries to comfort her by saying that Leon always intended to leave the academy on his own terms, but this does little to ease Angelica's guilt. Unbeknownst to them, Leon and Luxian secretly listen to their conversation from out of sight. At the Bartford household, Luce informs Balkis about the preparations being made for the arrival of the Duke's daughter. Zola enters with her children and immediately starts berating Balkis for the recent actions of his son. She slaps him and continues to reprimand him until Angelica appears. Zola becomes visibly shocked and confused, not recognizing her. Angelica informs Zola that she will be staying at the household, leaving Zola flustered as she quickly leaves the scene. Leon takes Olivia and Angelica on a tour of the surrounding land. Later, the two ladies bathe together and have a heart-to-heart conversation about the relationship of Olivia with Leon. After the bath, Leon meets with them as they bond further. Olivia asks to be called Livia, and Angelica requests to be called Angie from now on. They also bring up the idea of getting revenge on Marie. Leon is fully on board with the plan, and Livia offers to help Angie with her endeavor as well. Meanwhile, Marie learns from Julius that he and his entourage have all been disinherited of their titles and statuses. Julius informs her that he can no longer stay by her side, but his entourage promises to protect her and get revenge on Leon. Marie, however, is devastated by this turn of events. Her dreams of living an easy royal life are completely ruined, leaving her distraught and without a plan. Leon and Balkis meet with a royal messenger who informs them that there will be no repercussions against Leon or his family. Instead, Leon's rank will be raised to the upper sixth. Later, Leon receives this title directly from the king and queen, but it comes with a catch. It requires him to stay at Halford Academy. Luxian informs Leon about Julius and his companions venturing into a dungeon. They are training and earning money in hopes of defeating him someday. Livia and Angie approach Leon and invite him to join them at a new creep shop they discovered. The students of Halford Academy gear up for the culture festival, and Leon takes charge of organizing a tea party. He barks out instructions to Daniel and Raymond, making sure everything is running smoothly. Livia timidly walks in, dressed in a maid outfit, and nervously asks if she looks strange. Leon doesn't hesitate to reassure her, giving her outfit a stamp of approval. Not long after, Angie strolls in, also sporting a maid outfit. She immediately bonds with Livia over their matching attire, and the two share a heartfelt moment, growing closer in the process. Leon watches from the sidelines, tears welling up in his eyes as he sees Angie and Livia getting along so well. It's the kind of wholesome moment he didn't know he needed, but the mood doesn't last. Leon sinks into self-pity, lamenting his role as a mob character, convinced it means he'll never have a chance to date either of them. Suddenly, Jenna bursts into his room, dragging her butler along. After sitting down and being served tea, she wastes no time explaining her problem. She had a fight with a friend over a viscount expected to become ridiculously wealthy. Jenna tried to steal him from her friend but failed, and now expects Leon to fix the situation for her. Leon shuts her down instantly, and Angie backs him up, making it clear they aren't getting involved. Annoyed and clearly offended, Jenna storms out with her butler. Just as Leon thinks the drama is over, Daniel and Raymond rush in, reporting some urgent trouble brewing next door. Former Prince Julius and his entourage host their own tea party next door. They name it Cafe Princess. Leon is left speechless by this revelation. Julius approaches Leon and mentions that he heard about Leon also hosting a cafe for the culture festival. He invites Leon to visit, which enrages Leon because of Julius's arrogant attitude. Livia becomes shocked when she hears about the high price of tea at Cafe Princess. Julius explains that Marie suggested the pricing. After making a disrespectful comment, Julius walks away. Leon and his group, feeling annoyed, decide to follow him to see the competition. When they arrive, they find out that Cafe Princess is styled like a host club from the real world. Inside, Brad mocks Leon, calling him ignoble for scouting the competition. Chris, on the other hand, remarks that the visit was worth it just to see Leon's reaction. The idea for the cafe's setting turns out to be Marie's. Livia comments on how odd the cafe feels for its purpose, and Marie appears in response. Marie exchanges sharp words with Leon. He mocks the name of the cafe, and Marie fires back, suggesting that Leon turn his cafe into a break room for hers. Leon refuses, stating stating his loyalty to his master. Outside, Livia stands by the entrance of Leon's cafe. She holds a sign trying to attract customers, but no one shows any interest. A girl named Carla Fu Wayne approaches and expresses curiosity about visiting the cafe. That night, Queen Mylene shows keen interest in attending Leon's cafe. The next day, Leon motivates the boys while encouraging the girls even more. This irritates the boys, but Leon seems to enjoy their frustration. A teacher then approaches Angie and informs her that the executive council wants to speak with her. Later, Angie is assigned to act as Queen Mylene's escort during her visit to the festival. Mylene apologizes to Angie for the disrespect her son Julius has shown toward her. Angie holds Mylene in high regard and silently criticizes the shallow attitudes of the women around the men at the academy. Meanwhile, Leon and Livia observe a long line of people waiting to enter the Prince Cafe. They discuss the situation but are soon interrupted by a fierce-looking lady accompanied by her group. She demands entry to Leon's cafe with an arrogant tone. A bit later, Mylene arrives at Leon's cafe intending to have some fun with him. However, she finds him being scolded by the same intimidating lady who entered earlier. The scene irritates Mylene, but before she can act, Angie steps in. Angie asks the guest to leave and recognizes her as a member of the Offrey family, a rival to her own family. Livia also tries to intervene and asks the Offrey lady to leave peacefully. Instead, the lady mocks Livia for being a commoner. To add fuel to the fire, she reveals that Angie once referred to commoners as nothing but numbers. The Offrey lady continues insulting Angie until Leon finally steps in and defends her. One of the male escorts of the Offrey lady slaps Leon in response, but this only escalates the situation further. Mylene steps in to defend Leon, asking the Offrey lady to leave. The lady, unaware that the old woman is actually Queen Mylene, refuses. This triggers a sinister smile from Leon as he emits a dark and threatening aura. Using magical enhancements, Leon swiftly defeats the male escorts of the Offrey lady. He then loudly declares that the Offrey lady had been insulting Queen Mylene herself. Mylene tries to calm Leon and reason with him, but he continues to exploit the situation to its fullest, showing no signs of backing down. To calm the tense situation, Angie calls in Master. Master manages to emotionally reach Leon, who leaves to prepare tea for everyone. During this moment, Mylene speaks with Leon. She warns him that his duel with Julius was reckless and has earned him many enemies in the royal palace. She then asks if he has thought about his future. Leon confidently replies that he has. Mylene, satisfied with his answer, shifts the topic and asks if he would help her create some memorable moments. Taking the request seriously, Leon boldly suggests marrying her, which leaves her flustered. At that moment, Julius arrives. He slams his fist into Leon's head, and after a heated verbal exchange, punches Leon into a trash can. He then escorts Mylene to his own cafe. At the cafe of Julius, Mylene comments on the ridiculous and overpriced menu. She criticizes her son for breaking the promise he made after the duel with Leon. Frustrated, she demands to see Marie, who hides nervously behind a nearby curtain. Meanwhile, back at Leon's cafe, Leon laments his position as a mob character, believing it prevents him from interacting with someone like the Queen. Carla enters the cafe and approaches Leon. Though Leon initially dismisses her, Carla spots Livia and asks her to fulfill her earlier favor of introducing her to Leon. Carla kneels before Leon and pleads for his help, asking him to save her family. Carla Fu Wayne makes her entrance with all the formalities, kneeling before Leon and politely asking him to save the Wayne family. The dramatic plea feels straight out of a storybook, but Leon takes it in stride, letting her finish her case. Later in his room, Luxian doesn't hold back and asks Leon if he really plans to help Carla. Leon confirms it, explaining that he feels obligated since Livia got dragged into setting up the meeting. Luxian, as usual, throws in a remark about Leon's tendency to get involved in messy situations, but Leon waves it off. Meanwhile, Daniel and Raymond can't help but notice the awkward silence hanging between Livia and Angie. They assume it's the fallout from Stephanie's comments about Livia's relationship with Angie, and the tension is impossible to ignore. Leon steps in to break the mood, announcing that he'll give everyone a break even though the cafe is losing money. His confidence doesn't waver, claiming they'll rake in enough profit on the festival's final day to make up for it. Rumors start floating around about Leon entering the bike race scheduled for the festival's end. Angie, part of the race committee, mentions the favorites to win, Danfia, Elgar, and Jilk. Livia wonders if Leon plans to attend, but the group collectively decides he's more likely to place a bet than actually compete. Murray, ever the opportunist, also takes an interest in the prize money. Kyle, standing loyally by her side, suggests she place a bet, but Murray quickly dismisses the idea. Her disdain for gambling is loud and clear, rooted in memories of her boyfriend's debts in her past life. Instead, she declares her plan to earn the money honestly, a sentiment that makes Kyle sigh, clearly skeptical, but unwilling to argue. Leon wins a large amount of gambling money with the help of Luxian. This makes Livia and Angie uneasy, as they worry about karmic backlash for his luck. After the race, Jilk is attacked by racers associated with Claris, a female student. Despite the interference, Jilk manages to win the race. However, he suffers a broken bone from the attack. Claris and her entourage arrive shortly after, and she remarks that Jilk can no longer compete because of his injury. Jilk quickly realizes that this was her intention all along. Claris confirms it, stating that it is her revenge for him leaving her. Leon internally recalls that Claris is the former fiancée of Jilk. A heated argument erupts between Claris and Angie. Dan intervenes and puts a stop to it, but Claris redirects her focus back to Jilk. She declares that she will never stop seeking revenge against him. Jilk, unbothered, accepts her hatred and is willing to bear the consequences of his actions. However, he warns her that if anything happens to Marie, there will be consequences for her as well. Marie tries to reason with Clarice in a soft and innocent manner, but Clarice immediately dismisses her efforts. Leon silently observes and notes how much Marie reminds him of his sister from his previous life. Once Clarice and her entourage leave the room, Angie informs Jilk that a substitute will be needed for the next race. Marie curtly suggests that Leon should compete. She claims it is not because of the prize money, but because a first-year student must participate. Leon reluctantly agrees, feeling obligated to repay the favor he owes to her father and brother. Leon chats briefly with Luxian at the race stadium about being seen as the follower of Angie. Dan approaches him during the conversation and mentions that Clarice was a very different person before Jilk ended his engagement with her. Leah notices Dan's dislike for attractive men and jokingly asks if he can be spared from that judgment. Dan refuses, stating that his lady's orders are absolute before leaving. After Dan departs, Luxian informs Leon that the modifications to his bike are complete. Leon thanks Luxian for the work and expresses excitement about winning all the money he bet on himself. He also looks forward to seeing the reactions of those expecting his failure. During the race, the other racers gang up on Leon and attack him relentlessly. Even the commentator cheers for his attackers, fueled by the debts they blame on him. From the VIP seating, Angie and Livia watch in concern as Leon endures the constant aggression. Stephanie approaches them in the seating area and mocks Leon's predicament, calling him nothing more than Angie's follower. Angie denies the accusation, but the confrontation escalates. Livia tries to defuse the situation, temporarily halting the argument. However, Stephanie reignites the feud by turning her insults toward Livia, mocking her for being a commoner and recalling how Angie once looked down on commoners. Livia, upset by the remarks, runs away, leaving Angie feeling self-conscious and guilty. Stephanie uses Angie's vulnerable state to insult her further, pushing her buttons until Angie finally snaps. Angie smacks Stephanie to the floor, leading to a full-blown scuffle between the two. Back in the race, Leon activates the boosters that Luxian installed on his bike. The boosters allow him to take out most of the other racers, leaving only Dan as his remaining competitor. In the final stretch, Leon passes Dan but becomes terrified by how fast his bike is moving. Overcoming his fear, Leon wins the race. However, the bike exceeds its limits and explodes. Leon falls from the air but is saved by Dan, who brushes it off by joking that they both hate hot guys. The comment amuses Leon, who later enjoys the satisfaction of his victory and his gambling winnings. With Jilk now in his debt, Leon forces him to apologize to Clarice for abruptly ending their engagement. Clarice smacks Jilk in the face and severs all ties with him. After the tense moment, tea is served. Dan thanks Leon on behalf of Clarice. Leon pours tea for Clarice and offers some motivating words to her. Once he learns about Angie and Livia, he excuses himself and takes his leave. Leon finds Livia sitting alone on a bench in the courtyard. He approaches her and talks about what Angie told him. He shares his thoughts on Livia and Angie's relationship, pointing out that since Angie lost some followers after the duel, the two of them will do well together. Although his words come across as curt, they encourage Livia to talk to Angie again. Later, as Livia prepares to visit Angie, she is visited instead by Carla. Carla visits Livia with a polite request for help in arranging a meeting with Leon. Livia wants to turn her down gently, but before she can, Stephanie shows up uninvited, her presence instantly souring the atmosphere. Stephanie insists that Livia cooperate, backing her demand with threats and cruel insults. She doesn't stop there. Stephanie mocks Angie's name and warns Carla that her family will face ruin if she doesn't follow orders. Livia, despite feeling cornered, stands her ground and defends both Leon and Angie, refusing to let Stephanie drag their names through the mud. Stephanie's response is anything but subtle. She grabs Livia by the hair and unloads her version of the truth, claiming to reveal what Leon and Angie supposedly think of her. Once her tirade is over, Stephanie smugly declares that Livia deserves punishment for her defiance. The next day, Leon discusses the unfolding situation with Luxian. He explains that Carla asked him to deal with sky pirates causing chaos in her lands, most likely because of his reputation for handling similar problems in the past. Leon also points out that the pirates have one of the key items needed to awaken the protagonist's powers as a saint, the Holy Necklace. He mentions that these items, which also include the Holy Bracelet and Holy Staff, normally appear in the game 2.5 years later. Thanks to Stephanie's meddling, the timeline has been pushed forward. Leon believes Stephanie's jealousy of Livia is fueled by her success as a commoner rising above expectations. Her grudge against Leon, however, seems to be tied to the chaos he has caused for her in the past. Luxian questions if Leon is focusing too much on the game's events, pointing out that there is little to gain from doing so. Leon admits that, as a mob character, his goal is to avoid all major events while staying out of the conflicts involving the prince's entourage. Luxian suggests letting Livia handle the subjugation of the pirates. Leon disagrees, arguing that Livia is not in the right state of mind and decides to take care of it himself. Luxian remarks that Leon might end up as Livia's love interest, but Leon denies the idea, insisting he is just a mob character. Internally, Luxian notes how Leon is overly protective and that has hindered Livia's potential to grow. Leon asks if their ship, the Partner, is ready at the docks. Luxian confirms it. Carla and Livia soon join them, and Leon notices something unusual. Livia carries Carla's luggage, but she puts it down when she enters Leon's Leon's line of sight. Carla tries to hide the situation, but Leon sees it clearly. He also notices the troubled expression on Livia's face and realizes that she likely failed to reconcile with Angie. Carla introduces two others who will assist them in their quest, Brad and Greg. She explains their reasons for joining. On the ship, Leon exchanges words with Brad and Greg. Brad reveals that he was once engaged to Carla and plans to use the pirate bounties to help Marie. Greg shares that he also joined for the bounties and hopes to acquire an armored vessel from the pirates. Their differing motivations spark a heated argument between Brad and Greg, which Carla steps in to mediate. At the academy, Angie plans to give Livia a goodwill present but finds that Livia's dorm door has been vandalized. Stephanie and her two cohorts approach Angie and mock her, accusing her of checking up on her pet while Livia is away hunting pirates. Angie realizes that Stephanie is behind the pirate plot. Grabbing Stephanie by the collar, she threatens to end her. After releasing her, Angie walks away and decides to warn Leon while worrying about Livia's safety. Elsewhere, Julius speaks with his mother, Mylene, about Leon going after pirates with Greg and Brad. Mylene refuses to let Julius assist them, insisting that he does not yet understand why he cannot be involved. Back on the ship, Leon cheats during a card game against Brad and Greg, winning easily. He hopes to take all of their money in exchange for letting them ride on his ship. Their conversation shifts to Stephanie, her bad reputation, and how she became Brad's fiancé. Luxian interrupts to notify Leon about two incoming pirate ships. Brad and Greg, oblivious and unprepared, make no immediate move to act. Leon volunteers to deal with the pirates himself. The pirates begin their assault with 4 armored mechs. Leon greets them in his arrogance. Inside his mech, he reads up on the pirate group, Winged Sharks, which he identifies as a low-level crew. The pirate captain mocks Leon's arrogance, assuming it is an outdated model. However, the captain is quickly left speechless when Leon defeats the Vanguard mechs with ease. Brad and Greg watch the battle in awe, realizing they are witnessing actual combat for the first time. Leon's missiles destroy the pirates' barriers, cutting off their chance to retreat. Left with no other option, the pirates surrender, admitting defeat. With the pirates restrained on the deck, Brad reflects on the battle he witnessed. He realizes how arrogant he used to be and acknowledges his lack of understanding about real warfare. Inside the Arrogans, Luxian questions Leon about why he chose not to kill the pirates. Leon explains his reasoning, stating he does not have the mentality for such actions. In her room, Clara becomes frustrated when she fails to contact the pirates. She does not want to take responsibility for the situation and plans to shift the blame to Livia to protect her own reputation in front of Bartfort. Later, the group is held at gunpoint by armed individuals. The tension is diffused by Conrad Fuwain, Clara's father. Brad mentions that Clara asked for their help with the Sky Pirates, but Clara shifts the blame onto Livia. Livia, too timid to defend herself, stays silent. Leon steps in to speak on Livia's behalf and exposes the truth about why they are there. He also reveals Clara's role in the situation, which leaves her in tears. On the ship, Luxian discusses the recent events with Leon. Despite the defeat of the pirates, Luxian reminds Leon that their main fleet remains intact. He also notes that they have yet to obtain the Holy Necklace for Livia. Leon later meets with Livia, who unloads her thoughts and emotions. She reveals the insecurities planted by the words of Stephanie. With tears streaming down her face, accuses Leon and Angie of treating her like a pet. Her words cut deep, leaving Leon visibly shaken. Later, standing on the ship's deck, he reflects on what she said while talking with Luxian. Luxian, ever logical and unfiltered, points out that the situation is entirely a result of Leon's own decisions. Leon brushes it off, calling it an inevitable side effect of getting tangled up with both the protagonist and antagonist. Luxian doesn't hold back, bluntly stating that Leon's overprotectiveness is holding Livia back from growing as a person. Leon defends himself, insisting he's only helped Livia whenever she needed it. Luxian, unimpressed, counters that this constant interference is the real issue. Frustrated by Luxian's sharp critique, Leon loses his cool and throws a punch at him. The tension lingers for a moment, things eventually calm down. Not long after, Brad shows up on the deck, practicing his swordplay with the determination of someone trying to rewrite history. He tells Leon he's aiming to one day defeat him, but Leon brushes him off, telling him to focus on his magic instead. Leon firmly believes Brad doesn't stand a chance. Brad, however, refuses to back down, admitting he sees himself as the weakest of the prince's entourage, but also claiming he's their best-looking member. The banter escalates, inevitably leading to an argument about Marie, which quickly spirals into a duel. During the duel, Leon observes how much effort the prince and his entourage put into winning Marie's affection. He realizes how differently he acts toward Livia, rarely showing her the same kind of attention. Leon wins the duel and defeats Brad, who vows to beat him next time before leaving the deck. Meanwhile, Marie and her servant Kyle explore a challenging dungeon, searching for an item meant for the protagonist. In another part of the kingdom, Julius and Jill come up with a poorly thought out plan to escape the castle. However, when the queen hears about it, she rejects it outright, leaving both of them frustrated and unable to act on their scheme. Leon has lunch with Brad and Greg while discussing their plans to take out the remaining Sky Pirates. During their meal, the pirates ambush them from behind. Brad and Greg immediately plead with Leon to let them join the fight. Inside her cabin, Livia reflects on the harsh words she sent to Leon. Her thoughts are interrupted when she learns that the ship is under attack by pirates. She tries to make her way to the deck, but is briefly stopped by 2 worker bots. Her voice convinces the bots to let her pass, and she reaches approaches the deck where a pirate in armor confronts her. Brad intervenes just in time to save Livia from being captured, but he finds himself at the mercy of his opponent. Meanwhile, Leon struggles against the pirates on the battlefield. His attempt to capture them alive proves nearly impossible. Luxian notifies Leon that the pirate leader has made it to the deck. Leon sees Brad and Greg protecting Livia from harm and acknowledges that they are fulfilling their role. However, Leon's pride will not let him stand by. Leon requests weapon number 3, and an axe emerges from the Aragon's backpack. He uses the weapon to confront the pirate leader. After a tough battle, Leon defeats the leader and retrieves the holy necklace. In the aftermath, Livia uses her healing abilities to mend the injury on Brad's right arm. Brad is shocked to see that her abilities are similar to Marie's. Leon arrives and tells Greg that Olivia healed Brad and needs help carrying him inside. Greg and Leon assist Brad, leaving Livia behind. Livia, watching them leave, tearfully wishes that Leon had called her Livia instead of Olivia. Inside his room, Leon admires the treasure he collected from the pirates. He feels delighted when he finds documents linking Stephanie to the Sky Pirates. Luxian briefly discusses Livia's mental state, which remains fragile. As they talk, a Redraven voice ship approaches Leon's vessel. Later, Brad and Greg discover that they will not only take credit for defeating the pirates, but also receive the bounty. Leon also submits a formal request to their families, urging them to reconsider their disinheritance. On the deck of the ship, Leon talks with Luxian and shares his thoughts about the recent events. He expresses his desire to return to his role as a simple mob character. However, this plan is quickly ruined. Brad and Greg submit a request to the Queen to promote Leon from upper 6th to lower 5th rank. The situation worsens when Bernard Fia Atlee sends Leon the letter. Bernard thanks Leon for helping his daughter, Clarice. As a reward, Bernard gifts Leon a new air bike and informs him that he will be promoted to upper 5th rank upon graduation. This news leaves Leon completely distraught, knowing his quiet life as a mob character is slipping further away. Outside Halford Academy, Leon examines the new air bike he received from Clarice. The bike is named Schwart, which translates to sword. Leon immediately grows fond of it and embraces it affectionately. Luxian, unimpressed, declares that he will start modifying it soon. Later in the day, Leon sits on a bench in the courtyard looking gloomy. Raymond and Daniel approach him, trying to lift his spirits. Although Leon's chances of getting married have improved, he realizes it would be based on his status rather than genuine affection, leaving him unenthusiastic. A school trip is then mentioned. In the original Otome game, the trips serve as a way for players to grow closer to their romantic interests. For Leon, his choice is the floating southern island where Chris, one of the prince's entourage, is located. However, Leon is more interested in obtaining the item rumored to be there. Brad and Daniel suggest that Leon use the trip to make amends with both Angie and Livia. That night, aboard a luxury passenger ship, Leon discusses his plans with Luxian for when they reach the southern island. While observing the passengers, they notice Angie and Livia on the ship. Leon also spots a haughty woman named Deirdre boasting loudly to her group, drawing attention to herself. Nearby, Chris appears, surrounded by a group of ladies, which irritates Leon. He wishes Chris would focus on Livia instead. Livia, however, remains quiet and lost in thought. Down in the engine room, Angie's former groupies follow someone's orders to throw a pair of smoking sticks outside one of the windows. Their actions go unnoticed as the ship continues its journey. The ship eventually reaches its destination. Livia feels lonely and finds herself wandering before meeting Leon and Angie at a temple. A shrine maiden explains that the temple is dedicated to marriage and encourages the group to make an offering and pray. Internally, Leon wishes for both Livia and Angie to find suitable partners. After the prayer, the shrine maiden gives each of them a unique charm. The charm is exactly what Leon came for, having gone through a lot of effort to get to this point. He opens the packets containing the charms. Livia receives a blue charm, Angie gets a red one, and Leon obtains the battle charm, a special item that enhances close combat abilities and boosts physical attributes. The shrine maiden, pleased by the moment, assumes they prayed for their friendship, but their expressions suggest otherwise. The following day, the ship departs from the island. Luxian points out that Leon likely acquired the battle charm to retrieve the holy bracelet from the dungeon. This is the same dungeon where Marie currently is, also aiming to get the holy bracelet. Leon remains hopeful that Marie, if she plays her role properly, can still avoid the path leading to war. On another ship, a red-eyed woman observes the situation and remarks that the time is near. Back on the deck, Chris approaches Leon and proposes a sword duel. Their conversation briefly turns sour as Leon critiques Chris' swordsmanship. The moment is interrupted by an alarm. A massive swarm of monsters approaches the ship. Leon recognizes the crest on the monster as belonging to the Principality of Phantos. Before Leon can order Luxian to retaliate, a monster ship appears and Livia and Angie join in on deck. Angie identifies the red-eyed woman on board as Princess Hertrude Sarah Phantos. Hertrude sends a projected message to the ship's passengers, announcing that the Phantos Kingdom declares war on the Halford Kingdom and demands their surrender. Angie becomes distraught by this unexpected declaration. Leon, however, stands frozen in thought, questioning where his decisions went wrong to trigger such a turn of events. The ship's occupants gather on the deck, surrounded by Phantos soldiers. A man named Gillat introduces himself to the group. He divides them into two categories. Those ranked Baron and above are to be taken as hostages, while the others are deemed irrelevant and left alone. Angie approaches Gillette and gives him her name. She demands that that only she be taken hostage, asking for the safety of everyone else on the ship. Jelet agrees to her terms. Leon, wanting to intervene, tries to step forward but is stopped by two students. Jelet, displeased by Leon's actions, orders the two students to beat him. They hesitate but reluctantly comply. Angie pleads with Jelet to make them stop, but he ignores her and ensures that she boards the Phantos ship. While Angie is taken away, Leon is knocked out by one of the students, leaving him unconscious on the deck. On board the Phantos ship, Angie speaks with Gertrude while Jelet listens in. Angie questions Gertrude about her intentions to start a war with the Hulfert Kingdom and mentions how only two students had the courage to stand up for her during her capture. Gertrude, unfazed, continues with her plans. On the passenger ship, Leon is imprisoned and Livia stays by his side, feeling distraught over her inability to protect Angie or free Leon from his predicament. Chris arrives and informs them that Angie was the only one taken hostage, but the rest of the students are expected to be executed within the hour. He asks for Leon's help, but Leon refuses, pointing out how their peers failed to step up when Angie was taken. Frustrated, Chris prepares to leave, but Leon stops him. Leon clarifies that he is willing to fight the Phantos invaders only if the other students are willing to help as well. Chris then pleads with the students to rise up and fight, but they angrily reject his request. Leon fires a shotgun into the air, gaining everyone's attention. Standing with Livia, he gives a speech addressing the students as one of the nobles, which hits a nerve with Deirdre Fu Roseblade. This sparks an argument between Leon and Deirdre, where Leon criticizes the noble students for living off the achievements of their ancestors without earning their own merits. Leon's words stir up the students' emotions, and their initial anger turns into determination. Riled up, they decide to fight against their captors. Deirdre, meanwhile, becomes unexpectedly infatuated with Leon after the confrontation. In the hangar of his ship, Chris and Livia see Leon off as he prepares for battle. Meanwhile, on the Phantos ship, Gertrude plays a magical flute controlling the monsters that surround the ships. Luxian informs Leon that Angie is inside the enemy ship. Leon suspects that the enemy possesses a magical flute capable of controlling the monsters. Leon and Luxian work together to break through the enemy monsters' formation, clearing a pathway to the ship. Chris, piloting his armor craft, wonders if he will ever reach Leon's level of combat skill. Despite his doubts, he coordinates with male students piloting their armors to engage the invading monsters and protect their ship from further danger. Outside the ship, Deirdre takes charge of the remaining students. She organizes them to erect a magical barrier and fire spells at the monsters, keeping the situation under control for now. On the enemy ship, Gertrude is alerted to Leon's approach. She plays the magical flute again, causing the monsters to intensify their attacks on the students' ship. While Gertrude mocks the students for their lack of capability, Angie speaks up to defend them. She praises Leon, calling him the vanguard of their efforts. Meanwhile, Jelet, showing unwavering confidence, assures Gertrude that their army's cannon will soon destroy the students' ship. Luxian comments that he is surprised the students, especially the male ones, are able to resist the enemy forces. Leon explains that this comes from their adventurer heritage and their desire to secure good wives after graduation. On the students' ship, Deirdre uses her magic to fight off the monsters, while Livia heals one of the ship's staff members. An enemy ship fires its cannon at them, and soon others begin aiming their cannons as well. A series of volleys is launched toward the ship. In a moment of bravery, Livia casts a complete protective barrier around the ship, shielding everyone from harm. Livia then uses her magic to fire missiles at the monsters, giving Leon the opening he needs to invade the monster ship by flying directly into its mouth. Jelet mocks Leon's bold move, calling it the act of a fool attempting to defy the Principality alone. Leon quickly makes his way through the enemy ship. He shoots the soldiers in his path, knocks Jelet unconscious, and confronts Gertrude at gunpoint. He demands her surrender. Impressed by Leon's skill and determination, Gertrude tries to ask for his name. Leon interrupts her by shooting her maid and scolds Gertrude for stalling for time. He repeats his demand of her to surrender. Leon picks up the magical flute, but Luxian informs him that it is a fake and that the real one is with the maid. Luxian then shaves off Jelet's mustache, adding an extra insult to the defeated officer. With Gertrude restrained, Leon escapes the enemy ship on his bike, taking Angie and Gertrude with him. The monster holding the ship is defeated, clearing their path to safety. Meanwhile, on another ship, Jelet prepares for a counterattack, determined to regain control of the situation. Back on the ship, Leon notices that Livia is exhausted from her earlier efforts. Chris approaches him and asks for advice on what to do now that the monsters have stopped moving. Before Leon can respond, Jelet announces that Gertrude has chosen to sacrifice herself for the Principality. He commands the enemy ships to launch an all-out attack. Gertrude unleashes magic from the magical flute, causing the monsters to encircle the ship. Leon, not wanting Livia to cast another exhausting spell, decides to act. He rides off on his bike to confront the monsters, leaving Angie behind and distressed over what she can do to help. Suddenly, her charm activates, summoning fire lances around her. She casts them to provide backup for Leon. While supporting him, she notices Livia in her weakened state and goes to check on her. Angie finds out that Livia feels like she has been a burden to both her and Leon throughout the ordeal. Livia admits that she only wanted their acknowledgement and wanted to reinforce that they are friends. Shocked by Livia's revelation, Angie assures her that she has all the acknowledgement she could want and embraces her. This moment moves Livia Livia to tears, but before the situation can settle, the ship is hit by enemy fire. Angie loses her footing, falls overboard, and clings desperately to the side of the ship to avoid plunging into the depths below. Angie reflects briefly on her regrets and prepares to accept her fate, but Livia saves her just in time. The two share a heartfelt moment, but another cannon shot strikes the ship. The blast propels Angie back onto the deck while Livia falls overboard. Before Livia hits the ocean water below, Leon rescues her on his bike. However, Livia scolds him for calling her Olivia instead of her preferred nickname. This leads to an emotional exchange where Livia confesses her feelings for Leon, despite his belief that he is not good enough for her. Livia remains steadfast in her affection, making her feelings clear. With their conversation finished, Leon rides his bike back to the ship carrying a joyful Livia behind him. Her happiness stems from Leon finally calling her Livia. On the deck of the ship, Livia and Angie embrace each other tearfully, both overwhelmed with relief and emotion. Leon watches them quietly, allowing them their moment. Suddenly, the partner arrives and attacks the enemy ships, shifting the tide of battle. Leon's mech, the Arrogans, lands on the deck. He reassures Chris that he will take care of the enemy forces and enters the mech to join the fight. Meanwhile, Jelet's fleet finds itself in a dire situation, but the presence of their Black Knight, Vandal him Zenden, brings them a renewed sense of confidence. The stage is set for a decisive clash. Leon deftly avoids enemy attacks using the Arrogans and directs the partner to deploy rescue ships to save the students. Chris and Deirdre work together to coordinate the evacuation, ensuring the students are safely removed from the battlefield. Amid the chaos, a single black mech wielding a sword appears atop the leading enemy ship. It launches toward Leon, who identifies the mech as belonging to the Black Knight. On one of the rescue ships, Gertrude refers to the Black Knight by his real name Vandal and questions why he was deployed. Angie explains the Black Knight's backstory to Livia, who is unaware of his significance. Leon deploys drones to attack Vandal, but Vandal effortlessly destroys them and targets Leon directly. Struggling to match his opponent's skill, Leon orders Luxian to stow his sword and rifle, choosing to fight with his bare hands. While Leon deals with a separate soldier who attacks him, Vandal takes advantage of the distraction and slices open Leon's stomach armor. With his video feed compromised, Leon uses the opening in his armor to visually track his opponent. The Arrogans' performance drops by 30%, and the increasing strain on the mech prompts Luxian to recommend withdrawing from the battle. Leon refuses to retreat and dismisses Luxian's suggestion to use the partner to eliminate Vandal. Despite the ongoing struggle, Leon persists in his fight. During their clash, Vandal reveals his motivation, stating that he fights to honor his duty as a knight of the Principality. Vandal uses a flash bomb to blind Leon temporarily and plunges his sword into the Arrogans. In response, Leon exits the mech with his shotgun in hand and orders Luxian to autopilot the Arrogans to latch onto Vandal's mech. Held at Leon's mercy, Vandal demands to be killed, but Leon refuses. Luxian appears with handcuffs and informs Leon that the partner has secured the surrounding area. At that moment, Jelet releases a special signal flare. Gertrude identifies it as a call for something far more dangerous than the power of her magical flute. A massive swarm of monsters is summoned. Acting on Leon's orders, Luxian unleashes a rain of laser beams, annihilating the swarm completely and turning the tide of the battle. With victory secured, Leon again refuses to kill Vandal, instead taking his sword as a war trophy. Leon taunts Vandal, stating that he is finished after losing to a civilian ship filled with students. He even suggests that Vandal should consider retiring. By dusk, the pilot begins towing the defeated enemy ships. Jelet grovels at Leon's feet, begging for mercy. Leon coldly declares that he will take the functional armors and ships for himself, while the non-mobile ones will be salvaged for scraps. Jelet tries to negotiate, but Leon shuts him down, reinforcing his belief that the winner deserves compensation for war efforts. Inside the ship's hangar, Luxian asks Leon why he did not order him to use the ship's full power against the Black Knight. Leon inquires about the potential consequences. Luxian explains that if he had done so, both the Principality and Hulfert would view him as an immense threat and attempt to eliminate him. Leon agrees that this outcome would be disastrous for someone who just wants to remain a simple mob character. Leon finds himself locked out of his room because Livia and Angie are sleeping inside. He considers the situation a sight to behold but wishes they had informed him beforehand. Luxian explains that the two had grown tired of waiting for him and decided to rest there. Chris approaches Leon, who assumes that Chris wants to challenge him to another duel. Instead, Chris admits that Leon is his goal and expresses his determination to one day catch up to him. As Chris walks away, Leon begins plotting to give Chris credit for the recent endeavor, much like he did during the Sky Pirates incident. At the Redgrave household, Angie speaks with her brother Gilbert. He informs her that Gertrude's punishment is to study abroad, which Angie feels is far too lenient. Gilbert shifts the conversation to Leon's romantic life, but Angie dismisses the idea, claiming Leon does not have one. Gilbert seems puzzled, finding it strange that someone like Leon, who has accomplished so much in a short time, has not attracted a line of women vying for his attention. At the Hulfert Academy, Leon enjoys a tea party with Livia and Angie. They discuss his decision to let Chris take credit for defeating the Black Knight. This plan, they agree, will allow Chris to regain acceptance within his family. Livia and Angie praise Leon for his thoughtfulness. Their conversation shifts when Livia and Angie ask about Luxian. Leon introduces Luxian, who shares details about his relationship and background with them. Both are fascinated by Luxian Luxian, and Livia nicknames him Lux. Leon happily adopts the new nickname for Luxian. However, Lux interrupts Leon's joy to inform him that Julius and his entourage are plotting something. Elsewhere, Julius and his entourage present a new mech to Marie and Kyle. The mech is built from salvaged parts of their destroyed mechs combined with other materials, costing a total of 500,000 dayas. Marie, upon seeing it, is shocked and furious about how carelessly the money was spent. A rematch duel is eventually held, with Greg chosen to represent Julius and his entourage. The entourage sets the condition for victory. If they win, Leon will stop interfering with their relationship with Marie. Unbeknownst to them, Leon plans to throw the match. He feels it is better for them to find happiness with their beloved rather than continue dealing with him. At the start of the match, Luxian reports that Greg's armor is dangerously unstable and will likely explode due to its poor construction. Leon tries to warn Greg and the referee, but both dismiss his concerns, believing it to be another one of his usual tricks. Luxian offers a solution to prevent the explosion. Leon must destroy the armor himself. Despite his reluctance, Leon realizes there is no other option. Allowing the armor to explode would put Greg's life in danger. Leon destroys the armor, ending the duel. Greg's loss causes panic for Marie, who realizes that her 500,000 dayas investment has gone to waste. Sometime later, Leon complains to Daniel and Raymond about how he keeps winning, but is still treated like garbage by others. They inform him that he is set to receive an award at the upcoming ceremony for capturing Gertrude. Angie later escorts him to the event, where she plans to introduce him to her father and brother. At the ceremony, Leon reflects on how things have changed. He recalls how he started as a student, desperately struggling to find a wife and survive academy life. During a ceremony, he is awarded a medal and learns from Master that he has been promoted to the title of Viscount. After the event, Leon steps outside and meets Livia, who reminds him that she is still waiting for his answer to her earlier question. He then meets Angie and begins reflecting on his earlier plans to pair Livia with someone from the prince's entourage. Now he finds himself wanting to be with both Livia and Angie instead. Luxian interrupts Leon's thoughts with a remark about how his situation mirrors Marie's, as both ended up involved with their respective romantic partners. The comment annoys Leon, but Luxian unapologetically adds that Leon has no one but himself to blame for how things have turned out. And that's a wrap, folks. If you're vibing with the madness or just here for the tea parties and existential crisis, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, unlike the 500,000 dayas Marie blew on a trash match. Got thoughts, theories, or just want to roast Leon? Drop it in the comments. And hey, if this video gave you secondhand stress or made you laugh at least once, smash that like button. Until next time, keep grinding, keep dreaming, and remember, it's okay to be a mob unless you're Leon. Peace out.